Welcome to Invitation to Joy as we continue to look at Philippians. In our last devotional, we saw a man who is a joy bringer. His name is Timothy. And Timothy is a joy bringer because he is Paul's very best, a man of proven worth who has been discipled to do the work of God and the gospel. Well, we turn today to another man of proven worth who is an example to us and an example of what the Christian church is to be like. His name is Epaphroditus. Hard name, but it merely means one who is loved. Aphrodite, Greek goddess for love, and epi on or upon. He's loved on and he loves on other people. He's Epaphroditus. Let's read about him now. Chapter 2, verse 25. I have thought it necessary, says Paul, to send you Epaphroditus, my brother and fellow worker and fellow soldier, and your messenger and minister to my need. For he has been longing for you and has been distressed because of you, as you heard that he was ill. And indeed, he was ill to the point of death. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. So I am all the more eager to send him, therefore, that you may rejoice at seeing him again, and that I may be less anxious. So receive him in the Lord with all joy. For he nearly died for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete what was lacking in your service to me. Well, the circumstance here is the Philippians care about Paul. So they cared enough to send the very best man they had to him, even as Paul was about to send Timothy, his very best man. And their very best man was his fellow Epaphroditus. So he has come to be with Paul, not just to bring a message or a letter and then go home, but to work in the service of the gospel with whatever Paul's needs might be, since Paul was in prison. And Epaphroditus proves to be a great help, we can see in this passage. But something goes wrong. Epaphroditus becomes ill. Epaphroditus is so sick that he is on the verge of death. And word of that gets back to his friends and family in Philippi. And the Philippian church is praying for him, interceding for him, concerned and worried for him. But good news, Paul is able to report that Epaphroditus is recovering, that he's going to be all right, and that he is longing to get home, to be with those friends and family, to rejoice in his well-being, and for them to rejoice with him. And Paul wants to send Epaphroditus so that they may be reunited to one another, even though it means Paul will be deprived of this really good man who is there to help and support him. But Paul, showing his true character once again, would rather bless others than keep the blessing to himself. And so he wants to send Epaphroditus. You got to love Paul. I know some people don't like Paul, but Paul has such a heart of compassion for the Philippians and such a heart of compassion for Epaphroditus. He said, I would have had sorrow on sorrow if I'd lost this good man. We're called to be this kind of community too. People who send our best for one another, and people who pray when we are sick for one another, people who long to rejoice with others when they are given the blessing of God, and to honor those who give sacrificially for the case of the gospel, like Epaphroditus, who almost died. Are we those kinds of people in that kind of church and Christian body and fellowship that has that sense of mutual affection, as we have seen, that our mutual joy may thrive? Well, let's see what made Epaphroditus such a good man and such a proven worth character. Paul tells us, right, at the beginning, he says, Epaphroditus is my brother in the faith. Paul does not hesitate to say, this man, if I think about brothers, fellow Christians who are my brothers, my kin, my family in the Lord, man, Epaphroditus is just that kind of guy. And we want to be that guy and that gal too. Secondly, he's my fellow worker. Epaphroditus wasn't afraid to roll up his sleeves and jump in and do the work of getting the gospel to the world in Rome alongside with Paul. Third, Epaphroditus is a fellow soldier. Hear the word fellow once again. He's in the foxhole with Paul. He's there in the trenches with Paul, and he knows it's a spiritual battle and conflict that he is willing to fight with the Apostle Paul at his side and vice versa. We need to carry that sense of same spiritual commitment to one another as comrades in the cause of the gospel. And finally, Paul says, he's a messenger and a minister. We too are called to be messengers who bring the word of Christ and to minister to other people, even as Epaphroditus ministered to to Paul, though he fell ill and almost died. That's what it is to be a joy bringer. We're brothers and sisters. We work side by side. We're in it together in the battle of faith, and we bring the message and the ministry of Jesus Christ. Think about how you can do that today in your life, in your walk of faith, because when you do, you'll bring joy to other people, and your joy will be filled also. That's Spotlight Invitation to Joy, and we will talk to you next time.